As the rescue work and really the recovery work continues in KwaZulu-Natal, many areas are going to have to be rebuilt. Many places will have to be built back better. It's a huge conversation we need to have around how we build back in different places and away from floodplains and rivers. But we also need to look at climate change and how we build in a time of climate change, especially in cities like Durban, Cape Town, maybe Gqeberha. Professor Tshilidzi Marwala is the Vice-Chancellor at the University of Johannesburg. Professor, good morning to you, and thank you very much indeed for your time. I know you're an expert on the fourth industrial revolution. You spend a lot of time looking ahead to the future. Storms like this, situations like this, disasters like this, I suppose the starting point is whether we have to expect more of them in some of our cities.
No, thank you very much, Stephen, and greetings to your viewers. Absolutely. I mean, the climate change is a reality, and we know that the temperatures have risen and our seas are claiming more land from us. So we are going to see more rains. And as a result, and more flooding, and as a result, we have to be ready. But we need to mitigate and adapt to this climate change. And it starts with our own behavior. I think the country has adopted a net zero strategy. By 2050, we should be able to move away from fossil fuel or to reduce quite significantly our dependency on fossil fuel. And all of us have to do it, not just South Africa. Everybody around the world has to do it, because if we don't, then we are going to destroy this only planet where we can live at the moment.
These conversations always take us inevitably to Eskom, and they take us to how we produce the electricity. It's not just Eskom, by the way, that's a major polluter, Sasol as well, especially in the Mpumalanga area. But we produce all of our electricity around coal, and you'll know how, Professor, you'll know how ferocious these arguments get. Are we falling behind? I mean, could we actually be doing long-lasting damage knowingly?
No, I think all of us have to play our part. Just to give you an example, the University of Johannesburg has 52,000 students and 7,000 staff members. You can imagine our electricity consumption is quite huge. We have, in the last 2 years, installed solar generators, and as a result, 15% of our power actually comes from solar. So there are many solutions that are available. Of course, it has to be a just transition. We can't disrupt our economy, but certainly we can adopt climate change friendly policies as organizations, as individuals, so that we can be able to mitigate against this disaster.
We also need to plan our cities, and a lot of people have been talking about this, and it's easy to get excited about the big stuff. We're going to plan our cities differently, we're going to build our buildings differently, but there's also small stuff I wonder if we forget. If we keep allowing plastic to get stuck in storm water drains and to block storm water drains, we should know that there'll be floods. It's about maintenance, it's about management, also of what we already have.
No, absolutely. I mean, one of the saddest things, I live in Johannesburg and I love this city. And the University of Johannesburg has a campus in Durban. One of the saddest things about Johannesburg is that we have abandoned our city. You just have to drive through in the morning downtown. The amount of littering is actually quite bad. The question that you have to ask yourself is, where does that litter end up? Of course, it ends up in our drainage. And what does it do? It exacerbates problems of flooding, and ultimately people's lives are going to be destroyed as a result of this irresponsible consumption and disposal of what we consume.
Do you have a vision of what a city of the future looks like?
Well, a city of the future must be free of things like plastic. One of the cities that has really impressed me is Kigali. I'm going to be going there in a few weeks. Plastic is actually quite banned. There's no reason why we should still be using plastic. There are alternatives, biodegradable materials. The city of the future will have to be better planned in terms of energy utilization. This idea that our geysers are on all day is not sustainable. We need to have smart geysers that switch on and off depending on user patterns, and obviously this will require technology such as artificial intelligence. And I think the issue of recycling is not a culture in South Africa. At the University of Johannesburg, it is a culture, so that we can be able to have this circular economy. Things that have been used to be used time and time again because we are actually recycling them. And the city of the future must be cleaner than the city that we see here in South Africa. Of course, what I'm talking about doesn't even sound like a city of the future. Just sounds like a contemporary, world-class city, and that is the destination that we need to achieve before we can even achieve the city of the future.
Professor Marwala, there's several dynamics around the fourth industrial revolution and geography. Let me explain what I mean. 20 years ago, if you wanted to work for a particular company that was based, let's say, in the Durban Central Business District, you and your family would move to Durban. Now you don't have to do that. And I mean, obviously, there's a class thing to this. The richer you are, the more this change affects you. So if, for example, you can now live anywhere and do the same job, and we see climate change affecting certain places, like Durban, we're going to see rich people moving away from areas affected by climate change, even if you could argue the rich do more to cause climate change than the poor. And you're going to have this sort of unequal geography around climate change and how people actually work.
No, absolutely. It is quite clear that the poor are going to bear the largest impact of climate change. If the temperatures are going to result in flooding, it is clear that wealthy areas are much more protected than unwealthy areas, simply because the structures are designed better. The houses tend to be in appropriate areas. You were talking about issues of floodlines. Poor people are the ones who are living in floodlines. Informal settlement is a poor person's reality. But what we need to do as a country is, how do we create a country that is good for all? And of course, I was listening to Mr. Shilowa speaking about trust in government, and we are not going to be able to achieve any of this unless we can restore trust in government. And that restoration is something that has to be earned. It means we must have people who are effective, who understand urban planning, who understand proper procurement that is free of corruption, who understand that governance is really about serving the people, not serving oneself. That is really what it is all about.
Professor Tshilidzi Marwala, thank you very much indeed for your time this Sunday.